It's pretty nuts. We are already 7 rounds deep into the comp. This round, much more tame. Don't get me wrong, there were still some bangers, but for the most part, everything was pretty chill this week. Tipping wise, we had our best week. We're one off the 8 straights, or the perfect round. Let's do a quick review. So the Thursday game, it was the Wayne Bennett Cup. The Bunnies put a beating on the Redcliffe Dolphins. Now, it was a tough game, somewhat of a tale of two halves. That was like the theme for a few games this week. Now, we thought the Bunnies would be too much for them. We did tip the Bunnies, and the game was in the balance for I'd say up until that Kenny Bromwich sin bin, when he got sent for 10 at the 60th minute. It was wraps. The Bunnies, they're the best at utilizing that extra man. Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell just went to work. I do want to give some props to some Dolphins that were pretty gun. Cody Nikodima, he was hectic, especially in that first half, as was JMK. Coming up against elite competition in Damien Cook, his performance further solidifying his, spot in the top 5 hookers, if you will. You could probably argue that he's top 2 at the moment, up there with Harry Grant, just based on how influential he is to that Dolphins side. But yeah, I also wanted to give some props to a Bunnies enforcer. They didn't get much game time, but man, his physical, presence on the field. The dude's violent, eh? It looks like a nightmare to try and wrangle. We're talking about Hame Sele. Not a lot of game time, 36 minutes, but like I said, served this purpose. Was destructive through the middle, 10 runs for 130 meters, 48 of those being post-contact. And yeah, just their middles in general, they I'm not going to say they dominated, because the Finns did hang in there for a majority of the match. Davy Moale and Jai Arrow, they were just as destructive, or more destructive. I've got their numbers up at the moment, both running close to 200 meters, 180 for Jai Arrow and 170 for Davy Moale. And those post-contact meters go crazy, 68 for Jai and 71 for Big Davy. The first of the Friday doubleheaders, the Cronulla Sharks get up on the Roosters. Narrative-wise, I was surprised that the Sharks were the underdogs at home, also coming off a bye, and just letting that loss to the Warriors, that embarrassing loss to the Warriors, sort of marinate for an extra week was basically the selling point for me to take them this week. That and the Roosters had both their disruptors back. No disrespect to Joey Manu and James Tedesco. It was a pretty decent game. The battle for the middle was super entertaining. Jared Waweer-Hargreaves, that lad's been on a mission these past few weeks. And Lindsay Collins, you could say, such an imposing figure on the field. He's a massive body, and he had one of his best performances, I'd say. Those two through the middle were just carrying the Roosters on their backs, as did their defense. Let's not forget that goal line defense to end the first half by the Roosters was pretty impressive. Lucky to get away with a few consecutive infringements, but I can't deny it, they did scramble well. Did I even mention the score? They did get the win, 22 points to 12. It's crazy what the rest can do to teams. Their attack went from looking like the smoothest in the league 2 weeks ago to super clunky. And I'm not going to fully put that on the bye. I don't know, I guess they just didn't look as confident as a unit. I will say though, speaking of confidence, Nico Hines, I do love the way he keeps backing himself. There was a few times where he made some decisions and it wasn't really the right play. It didn't deter him from taking chances or just trying to create for the team. But yeah, true slugfest overall that game was. There's been so many of those types of games this season. The headliner for Friday nights, the only game I got wrong this week. The hindsight Harry and me is kicking myself. Manly were somewhat in a similar situation as Cronulla, coming off a embarrassing loss. They got dog walked by the Panthers last week. And also this being played at 4 Pines Park, you just know they'd come out swinging for their home fans. And yeah, they got the upset over the Melbourne Storm. I do want to give a moment of silence for the PNG wrecking ball, Justin Olam. That boy got put in a coffin on live TV. It's not often you see him stay down after getting tackled. He takes the heartiest carries in the league. Other players that come to mind with berserker type hit-ups for backs, Suali'i, Montoya, those 3 lads are cut from a different cloth. In terms of performance, that first turbo run, I think I said, oh my god, out loud. Talk about a hearty carry. It looked like he was going to have one of those types of games, but he somewhat fizzled out. Still a good performance though. They put together a beautiful little set piece. That little combo between him and DCE to score the first points, that was a hectic little play. But yeah, speaking of DCE, he was my best on ground. And a little mention to 12 for 4 Sipley. I thought he was pretty good. Really good actually. Looking at his stats, I got him pulled up right now. 16 runs for 163 meters, 60 post contact. I mean, that's everything you want from a bench player, right? You want them to impact the game, and that's exactly what he did. Super Saturday, we'll sort of talk about it all together. First up, we have the Warriors getting their second win over the Cowboys. That's crazy to me. They were such an anomaly coming into this season. It was just the unknown factor about their coach, and holy, has he been impressive. 7 rounds into the comp, I for sure think he's a Coach of the Year candidate. Now, performance-wise, a pretty scrappy game overall, but still an impressive win from the Warriors. Their try-line defense, man. The 180 is crazy to how it was last year. Another win against the grain as well. That's what makes it so impressive to me. Even though, like I said, it was pretty scrappy. You know, they had less time in possession, but they had more post-contact meters. 37 tackle breaks to the Cowboys 16. Only 16 missed with less time in possession. Staying on defense, how about Sean Johnson? 15 tackles, none missed. Tom Ale was the other player whose tackle efficiency was at 100%. 26 none missed, and oh yeah, Ed Kossi on the wing. As for the Cowboys, we'll quickly touch on them. Same old, same old. I think they've only played one decent half of football, and that was the first game of the season. Other than that, they've looked weathered, lethargic, and to make matters worse, we actually kind of assumed that Dalmalolo could be carrying an injury, and not too long ago, the Cowboys actually released a little updates on Jason, and he's going to be missing for a few weeks. What it says here is Dalmalolo suffered the injury earlier in the season, as we suspected. And it says, but after consultation with club medical staff, it was decided the injury had reached the point where surgery was required, and he'll be gone for 4 to 6 weeks. The second game for Super Saturday, the Penrith Panthers get the dub on the road, 16 points to 15 against the Newcastle Knights. Now, we obviously picked the Panthers in this, but the game did not go as I thought it would. Let's be honest, the better team lost in my opinion, but championship sides, they find ways to win. Champion players in particular, and Nathan Cleary is just that. Hate him or love him, you gotta respect the bloke for his talent. I mean, you don't have to, but you'd be a hater if you didn't. But yeah, he often pulls his team out of the mud. The game itself, a true grind. We expected it. We expected plenty of niggle, plenty of feeling in this one. What I didn't expect was, one, the Knights to outgrind the Panthers. That's essentially what they did, and they scored more tries. To think they almost got the win off the back of such a lopsided time of possession to the Panthers, close to 60-40. It was straight up a valiant effort from the Knights. It'll be interesting to see how they slide KP back into the side, whether they ease him in by putting him on the bench next week, because he's rumored to come back. That's unlikely. Do they throw him back in the front line, or will it be back to fullback? I can't imagine that, because Lockie Miller has been pretty good for them, as has Tyson Gamble in the 6. Interesting times for Nui. To close out Super Saturday, we had another Queensland derby. The Broncos put 43 points on the Titans. Another one of those tale of two halves type games. The Titans looked good. Had me worried in the first half, not gonna lie. They did go into the sheds with the lead, and that was off the strength of some massive performances, especially in their forward pack. Mo Fotuaika, one of the best games I've seen him play. But yeah, his presence was definitely missed while he was off the field. Some more standouts, but from the Broncos, again, Reece Walsh. A bit of a mixed bag overall, but I feel like his impact in attack has been the saving grace for this Broncos team. The numbers don't lie. 2 line breaks, a line break assist, a try assist, and 6 tackle breaks. He's been popping off since donning that maroon and gold. I also thought Reynolds was up there for best on ground. His ability to steady the ship, if you will. And also the engine room's most important players, Haas and Carrigan. Overall, it's a pretty convincing win and an impressive performance from the Bronx. I don't know if I'd classify that as a complete performance, but to run away in the second after the back and forth in the first, that was pretty typical. And to wrap up the round, we're gonna go quick. This Raiders and Dragons game, a bit of a snooze fest, not gonna lie. But the Raiders did get away with the win. Hudson Young coming up with the play of the game, a 1-on-1 strip to seal it for the Raiders. And the final game, like I said, not much time on these two games. They were both pretty average. The Eels versus the Bulldogs. The Eels get by comfortably, 30 points to 4. You gotta feel for the Dogs, eh? They have so many injuries, and they've added to the tally with this game. Karaz doing his MCL, expected to miss a few weeks, and I'm not sure if Avarilla will be okay for next week either. He did play with, I think, also an injured knee. So yeah, a brave performance from the Dogs, but the Eels class shone through. Their forward pack, they're big boys. And their pillars, as I've called them, Regan Campbell-Gillard in particular, ran wild on that Bulldogs pack. Let's pull up his stats real quick. Alright, so here we go. 18 runs for 197 meters, albeit 73 of those being kick return meters, but he did get 55 post contact. I did see a few people saying that he's playing himself back into Origin. I won't be mad at that, you know. The dude gets belted every game, but he's always ready to take another hit up. That's what I love about Regan. His toughness. I thought Gutho looked good, and I thought their halves again, not as dominant, but they got the job done. Dylan Brown, such a handful. Staying on the topic of the spine, Brendan Hands did play a whole game, and I was kind of on the side of Para replacing Hodgson as a starter, and after this game, I'm kind of reneging on that. Don't get me wrong, he played pretty good, but I think coming off the bench as impact or spark would be the move for them once Hodgson is fit. That's it from me, a quick review for your Monday afternoon. We'll be back with the IRL content on Wednesday for the tips. I'm excited, man. We're getting close to that 8 straight. OddSquad's Bakery had next to no customers. We'll talk about that in the tip video. But yeah, for now, we're going to wrap it up there. If you did enjoy, be sure to run and share that like button. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you. Later. I want the smoke, I don't care if you broke, go and give me that. Don't choke on the smoke.